What's good people? This is your boy, Mr. Timothy D. Hall, and I'm coming back live. I'm coming back with a little bit of words of wisdom. So this is what I always put. I drew this diagram, and this diagram is supposed to illustrate what I always talk about when I'm talking about your soul versus your ego, and what's the difference between the two. I mean, now I realize that when I say soul and ego, people may not even necessarily know what ego is and what soul is a lot of times, But hopefully I can explain it a little bit in this diagram right here. So if you see right here, I have them on two sides. I have one person on this side, on the left side, which is the person with the soul type of energy, and then the other person is more so operating an ego. Now, the one that I have an ego, you can see I got him with all his fancy clothes. I mean, the dude is like, he clean. But and the other one on the other side, the one with the soul, is dressed in a more so modest way. Now, I want to say this first off. This does not mean just because I have one person and this person over here on the right side with the ego, just because I have them with all this fancy stuff on, it doesn't mean just because you got fancy stuff on means that you only operate an ego or that you negative or da-da-da. Even if you got operating ego, it doesn't mean necessarily that you negative. Then it got nothing to do with it. It's just a representation, because ego a lot of time is associated with vanity, superficiality, and things of that nature. You know what I mean? But ego is a part of this world. It's a part of the devil. It's a part of your identity that's on this earth. So a lot of times we protect the identity of ourselves in comparison to the actual reality. This is why a lot of people, that's why I say, oh, you being fake, you're a fake person, da, 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 da. What they mean is it's a person that's operating out of their ego, truly is what they're saying. Because a person who's operating out of their ego a lot of times is more so concerned on how the world looks at them and how the world sees them in comparison to how they actually are. You understand? In comparison to if you're a person that is in your soul, more so walking in your soul essence, you don't care as much. You care about more so what's going on inside. So the egotistical person is more so working on the outside of themselves and not the interior, in comparison to the person with the soul is working on their interior in comparison to the outside. Again, it doesn't mean that if you're in your soul, or you're walking in a spiritual manner, that you don't work on your inside. I mean, your outside. It's just a representation, just for this demonstration right here. Now, with that being said, if you see on the side, I got at the very bottom, you can see where I have this earth, and the earth is big and gold, and it has a bright light on the side where it has the person with this ego. But on the opposite side, it has a person that with the world is 2/3 black and then a little bit of red at the bottom. The reason why I drew this in the way that I did is because typically when you're in the world, the earth is going to accept you if you're operating out of your ego. The world is going to love you if you're operating out of your ego, in comparison to if you are operating out of your soul. A lot of times the world is going to reject you. Now, the caveat, the actual interesting thing about this is, and I didn't put this on here, but a lot of times if you're operating out of your soul, your spiritual manner, a lot of times you are the light of the world. So it's almost like in a reverse, you know what I mean? So like, it depending on the situation, if you're talking about, people accepting you and people loving you, like right off the bat, you're going to go with this diagram that I have set up where the earth, where the person living in ego, they have the earth with this bright light and it's golden, meaning that the earth accepts them. People love them. In comparison to if you're talking about acceptance and things of that nature, the person that's operating out of spiritual, they're going to reject them. This is just like, again, this is in the Bible. It says something like this: Jesus is rejected by the world. This is why Jesus was hated so much, is because he's from God. The people didn't want him there. And there's even a situation, if you look at the Bible, or you look at the situation when Jesus was brought before what's his name? I don't know if it's Pontius Pilate, or I don't know, but you remember it was a Roman governor, and the Roman governor didn't want to kill Jesus, so he decided, but the people wanted to kill Jesus, right? Because the people didn't want him, and they brought out Barabbas versus Jesus. Now Barabbas was this enemy. He was this murderous. He was literally like the worst thing in the world, and everybody knew how terrible, and they didn't want Barabbas out of this jail cell. But they brought Barabbas up versus Jesus, and they asked the question, and Jesus, and mind you, Jesus never done anything, but they asked the question. He asked the question, which one would you rather have? Would you rather have Barabbas, or would you rather have Jesus? Because he was like, I'm going to set one of them free as a way that I don't have to kill Jesus. But in the same vein, the people get to choose. So obviously he's thinking Barabbas is going to be the one that they're saying that they want him to stay in prison, and they're going to say Jesus can be set free because Jesus never did any wrong. But to his surprise, everybody picked Barabbas, and then they said kill Jesus. Now, why did they do that? They did that because Barabbas is a part of the world and Jesus is not a part of the world. The world is always going to reject something that's not a part of their own. That's why they picked Jesus and to kill him and let Barabbas go, even though Barabbas is a enemy. He's a negative, a murderous, whatever. But he was a part of the world. He's from the world. That's why Jesus says. That's why they say, oh, sorry about that, but that's why they say, you're if you're in this world, but you're not of this world. I mean, that's what it meant. But this is what it symbolizes right here, that if you're walking in a spiritual manner, the world's gonna reject you. They're gonna reject you. In the same vein, they need your light, so you're gonna be the light of the world, but you're gonna also reject you at the same time. So it's an interesting cognitive dissonance or red herring. It's not onomatopoeia, but you understand what I'm saying. It's all those things that says it's a contradiction. That's what it is a lot of times. But actually, I guess it's not a contradiction, because they need you, but they probably don't want you. That might be what it is, but let's keep it going. Let's keep it moving bit by bit. So at the top, you can see, obviously, you have the spiritual energy. At the top, I have God, and at the bottom, you have the devil. Now, I don't, most people, look, my understanding, my belief in all this is, people, the devil operates in so many different ways. A lot of times God says you should not have any more other gods before me. You know what I mean? Any other deities. And we will believe in our lives that there's no such thing not no such things, but we could be like a very hard Bible thumper or whatever. And we're like, we got no other gods before us. And we have no other gods. And some people, they don't believe in anything. They don't believe in God, And they said, we don't have any other gods. Like, we don't worship. Yes, we do. Even the people that believe that they don't ever worship things, they worship things all the time, whether or not they understand it. You know what I mean? It's other deities. There's smaller deities. Like, money is a deity. Like, your celebrities, your mother, your father can be deities. You worship your mother and your father. These people, that you could treat them like gods. You know what I mean? Whether or not you know it. And like, the thing is, even though the devil, you're like, I never would serve the devil. God says, if you have any other gods before me, you can only go one or two ways. You can only serve two masters. So that's why I set up in this manner where there's always this strong balance, where this negative and positive, black and white. It's two sides, two strong sides. You know what I mean? This is always going to be this way, because it's balance, in this world. But God said something to the effect of, you can only serve one or two masters. So you either serve God or you serve the devil. So even though you saying, oh, I don't serve, if you don't serve God, then you automatically serve the devil. It is what it is. Like I always say, this is the Finding Nemo effect. Meaning, if you ever seen Finding Nemo, there was a character at one point, Finding the Nemo little fish. He was trying to get back out to the ocean. He essentially just got kidnapped and was in their fish tank, and Gil, one of the fish, he was trying to get out of the fish tank, and he was trying to get Nemo out. They was trying to get back to the ocean where Nemo's family was, right? And so Gil was always saying, hey, the way that we can get out, all drains lead back to the ocean. Meaning, he was saying that if they can get into the drain somehow, if the person puts them in the drain could be like they were in a dentist, so it could have been that spit sink, or it could have been a toilet, it could have been a sink, anywhere there was a drain. He was saying everything's gonna lead back to the ocean, i.e. that you can get back. So in the same vein, just because if you don't serve God, or you serve all these other deities, or you saying you don't, you serve the devil. That's because all those pipes, all those everything, even all these false gods and stuff, they lead right back to the devil. All drains lead back to the ocean, i.e. even if you don't serve God, all drains lead right back to the devil. You know what I mean? The devil is at the behest of all of it. He's at the behest. You know what I mean? It's like a military system or whatever, or organization or corporation or whatever. Okay, have you ever went to a corporation and you try to go get something done, or you went to a restaurant or something, and somebody, you talk to cashier ain't getting whatever you need to get done. So you talk to the system manager's not doing it, and then you talk to the manager not doing it. Now you want to talk to the owner, and then whatever. It's the same doggone thing. Even though you're talking to different managers or different hierarchical people who are in different positions of authority, it leads right back to the owner. The owner is the one that you really got to talk to in order to get your problem resolved. Again, all drains lead right back to the ocean. But with all that being said, you got these two dichotomy. At the top, you have God. God gives you positive spiritual energy. God is literally the one that gives energy. He doesn't give positive spiritual energy. He's the one that gives any type of energy. A lot of times you hear people say something, or these terms of energy vampires, meaning that people love to be around people who have high amounts of energy to suck them dry so they can take their energy. Remind you, the devil doesn't have anything. The devil steals everything he has from God or God's people. And this is how he thrives. And he thrives on manipulation. And he all his power is in his manipulation, his manipulative tactics, and all those different type of things that he does. That is where he thrives. That's the only way that he has power. You know what I mean? And so that's why you see a lot of people, they operate in the same way. How do people get power? They manipulate, they lie, they cheat, they steal, they do all these, they're underhanded type of tactics. But essentially they have to steal it from someone else. They don't earn it themselves. Whereas God is the one that, like, he is the provider of it. So a lot of times the spiritual energy, you'll see, like, at the, I have this spiritual energy where there's this exchange in the middle. The spiritual energy from one, for the person that God gives it to, he often is God. Those people are here to actually give it to humans, to give it to people. You know what I mean? But a lot of times there's this energy exchange. A lot of times when you're giving positive energy, a lot of times people will be giving you negative energy to seep out your positive energy. You know what I mean? And this is not always the case, but this is a lot of times what happens. This is what, again, energy vampires, people who operate purely out of ego. They have no connection to God. They don't have any energy whatsoever. So they need your energy. They need everything. Even here's another crazy thing. God says even the people you're around, to a certain degree, if you have that good spiritual energy, or if you're in God, you bless other people that's around you. You know what I mean? Like and this is another reason why people want to be around you. If you got that good spiritual energy, they can see it. You got a light or whatever on you. You have a light on you. And whether or not you know it, but other people can see it, and it's the spirits in other people. They see it in you, because they empty, but they can come over, and you can see I have these battery cells again on the left side with the person of the spiritual energy. You can see the battery cell, all that light inside. It's a lot of positive light energy. That's because it comes directly from God. God sources chosen vessels on this earth, and those chosen vessels are here to do whatever they need to do. They're light workers, but they're essentially supposed to reflect God's love and show people that God truly does exist. Whereas on the other side, a person who's operating purely out of ego and vanity, you can see their battery cell is low. It's nothing. It's barely anything in there. It's because they steal everything that they got. This is a balance between God and the devil. The devil steals, whereas God is the one that actually gives. You know what I mean? God is love, and the devil is hatred, evil, and all these other different types of things. God controls. God doesn't control you. He operates in love. He gives you free will, whereas the devil wants to manipulate and control everybody. He wants everybody to be the same. You see, it's this dichotomy that's always there. This is why people will shame you on this earth if you're not like everybody else. That's why they shame you. It's the devil truly behind everything. If the devil wants everybody to be the same, because he can manipulate people. If everybody's different and he can't manipulate people on a mass level. That's why they have to make sure that everybody's beating you down to say that you need to be just like everybody else. And because of human nature, we're afraid to be outside of the group, ostracized, and things of that nature, which is understandable. And this is a primitive thing. Like, if you ever heard of that statement, blood is thicker than water, and there's supposed to be a statement that said that you should always stick with family. It's a bunch of BS from the simple fact that, that statement is encroached in, like, it's a primitive thinking process. It's not, people think it's some noble type of thing. It's not noble. It's a godly type of thing. No, it's not. That is a primitive, humanistic type of character, like, thought process. I.e., because when we were in a more so primitive time, in hell, even now, sorry about that, even now, that statement stems from protection. It's like, family, blood is thicker than water. You need to always stick together. I.e., if we need to fight off other enemies in this world, it's like we're animals. You know what I mean? Like, it's like two lions in the wild. Blood is thicker than water. We need to stick together. But oftentimes, the two brothers in the wild, they're still like treating each other in a certain type of way. But humans would treat each other, even though they're saying that statement, blood is thicker than water. Your family can treat you terrible. Absolutely terrible, like nothing. You know what I mean? But then they'll still turn around and say that statement, that blood's thicker than water. And again, you can't go off the statement. The Bible, Jesus said something to the effect of, "Who is my mother? Who is my father? Look to the left of me, look to the right of me. The people that are spiritual, that believe in God and everything, and that's follow God's laws. Those are my family, not the people that I was born with. That's your relatives or da da da. Oh, we're blood. There were blood, and blood will kill you. Didn't Cain kill Abel? Didn't Cain? Did what about in those situations where jealousy? You have even in different mythology. You got Egyptian in mythology. It's to tell us oldest time of jealousy and family killing each other because of jealousy and da 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 da. You know what I mean? So blood is not thicker than water. It's like, I mean, it is thicker than water, but it's like that really doesn't make that much sense. But it stemmed from a primitive thinking of protection. It's from a scarcity lacking mentality that was ingrained into our so we can protect ourselves from other enemies, from other invaders. You know what I mean? Because again, it's just like two countries. Japan can say, or here's the thing. When that Asian hate bill came out a little while back, even though these, the Chinese people or Asian people around the world, they probably didn't like the American Asian people, but they were heavy. The bills got passed, and the things that happened with the Asian hate bill, it got processed so fast is because other Asian nations were not happy that Asian people in this country were treated a certain type of way. Even though they probably don't even like the Asian Americans, they did it not because of, but they not because they liked the Asian Americans or they were trying to truly protect them. They were protecting the Asian race as a whole. If that makes sense, that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to make you sure that you didn't think that you can get over on the Asian race, because soon after they're still fighting each other. Like the Asian people still be fighting each other to the day that they die. Japanese versus China, China versus Tibet. They will fight each other, but when it comes to another race, they will band together and fight everybody else, and then fight themselves later. I mean, this is not just Asian people. It's just an example. Literally every other nation. This is humanistic behavior. This is human behavior. It's not just Asian people. It's just an example. But that's that mindset of blood is thicker than water. It's about protection. It's about solidarity when a common enemy comes up against you. You know what I mean? Y'all can fight it out later, but when a common enemy comes up against you, you stick together. So it's that type of mentality. So, but this, but if you're in a spiritual manner, you shouldn't operate from that perspective. Otherwise, people gonna get over you, and the devil's gonna play patty cake with you for the rest of your life. If you adopted that mindset, and that's a hard thing to do. But you can't adopt that mindset if you believe in God, because those enemies, those demons inside those people are going to constantly attack you, even if it's family. It don't really matter. It's because, again, you got to realize this is spiritual. Humans are vessels. The spirits could get in and attack, and if people aren't willing to heal themselves, they will be open vessels, and they could be family, but they'll attack you like crazy, and you'll be sitting there like, why is my family attacking me? It's because the spirits inside those people, and they're not willing to change or heal from whatever they're going through. So you gotta have to cut people off, which is sad, but it is what it is. But let's keep this moving. Yeah, but you see at the bottom, again, the devil, he operates in ego, pride, and all these different, and these things, we think that they're good, but they're humanistic type of things. They're vain, they're superficial a lot of times. Like they're you know what I mean? But at the top, humility, love, kindness, and all these other different type of things. That's where God is, So, but you can look at the interior of their hearts that I drew, and you can see in the interior, the person with the soul, it has a full interior with light inside and stuff like that. It's a lot of yolk. I drew it as an egg. It's a lot of yolk, but you can see I drew it with the person that's mere spiritual. They have a lot of yolk in there, very full and very fulfilled inside. They have an ego, which you see I drew on the outside, the outer layer of it. It's not as, the ego is there, but it can be easily broken and it's fragile or whatever. But it's a good thing because you still got your soul, you got your spirit. And so your ego is supposed to be bruised and fragile, because your ego is associated with the devil. It's a part of the world, and you got to reject your ego. You got to let it go in order to actually be with God and get into that spiritual energy. You know, your ego is going to be broken down a lot of times. Everything on this earth is going to be stripped away from you and da 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 da. You know, you're going to probably gain it back with God, but you're not going to be, the world's going to hate you. It's going to be, you know, your ego is going to be broken down to the point that you're, you know, that's why they say a new man is born, or, you know, what is it? Any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. That meaning that you got to die. Your ego has to die. You got to die through your ego, and it's going to hurt. But you're going to wake back up in your spiritual energy. You know what I mean? And on the other side, you can see the person that's operating out of their ego. The ego, the outer shell is strong. It's like, it's very thick. I mean, it's not too thick because it's fragile still, because you can easily break a person's ego. But you see in the interior, there's little to no yoke. It's very low. It's very, very low. So there's no spiritual energy. So there's always going to be this energy exchange where it occurs, where a person that only operates out of their ego, i.e. like a narcissistic person, is the king and the queen of ego. So they are the ones, they're like energy vampires. In comparison to a person that's operating out of spirit, they're not an energy vampire. They give energy to people, and people will take that energy and they do whatever they want to do with that energy. But they give, and then they dump off all the negative energy onto the spiritual, the spiritual person. You know what I mean? So, and typically the spiritual person is empathic, just like God. God is empathic. Jesus was empathic. People who are operating ego, they have no empathy at all. A narcissist has no empathy. You know what I mean? And they'll kill you and don't care and da 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 da. So yeah. So, but with all that being said, I just wanted to come on here real quick and show y'all this diagram and explain a little bit between ego and spiritual energy. So I'll catch y'all on the flip side. Peace.